more flatness, right? At least 178 worlds flatness. God, and we got some of this last time. Just saying. I'm just saying. How many worlds? How many ice rings? How much Antarctica and South seems to be everywhere pointing away from magnetic north. And East and West, according to these arrows, is counterclockwise and clockwise. And we went in a little bit on these how many suns we see, right? And you got a newborn sun right here in the middle. Spirals out after the ice age. Newborn. So there's a new sun being formed, right? Where they say the black sun is. This is one day going to be the sun in this spot, and this sun here is going to be outside. So the sun that was there with Lemuria, right? The same sun that they were using in the Atlantis versus Lemuria move. You know, they had the power of the sun. They had sun weapons, right? That's not the same sun as we got today, Jack. My noggin. Mu, Lemuria, Atlantis. They got Atlantis way out here. Look. Did it have the same sun? This is Goog. There's another one called Zol. But Zol is not Sol. Right. I'm just saying. So how can we have the same moon? That's why you got people that have tribal records before the moon and all that, because before this moves, who they're calling Set and Anubis. That's why Ty Battle don't like this moon. Be popping up all over the place, right? This plasma, it's just plasma. It's just plasma. So these suns that's born in the middle, it's just plasma, right? Black sun, plasma, right? Energy, frequency, right? Come on. So which moon? Which moon were the Israelites going off of? Let's say, right? They said 1,000 years ago. So which moon were they going off of? Is it the same moon from this time? Same sun? I don't think so. There's different suns and different moons. There's different Yahs and different Jahs. Yeah, they call sun Jah and moon Yah. So if that's how you're referring to the creator, you gotta think, can they play with the creator's name like this? Sun and the moon is what you saying. We saying most time over everything. We saying breath is security. Fifth and the sixth letter of the Hebrew is not a Yah or a Jah. It's wow, because we talking Hebrew. God. So we'll get back to it. We'll get back to the Hebrew. Let's go. All right. All right. Cool. But yeah, they got different rings. Some got less rings. You know, you see them now being sold on these little shop, online shops. This one's a little clearer, I think, when I zoomed in. It's a little bit. But I leave these links, and look, are these correct, accurate? We don't know. Is the map you got today correct, accurate? Accurate? How do we know unless we see clearly? You know what I mean? For ourselves, we have to be witnesses. But all in Hawaii's time, because all that Antarctica ice that's melting, my nigga, is gonna show you the ancient lands for real, for real. And it appears that Hawaii, kind of just had this waiting for us, covered up, prestige, preserved. There goes those arrows again, and they always go clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. And what does that got to do with the electricity, the voltage of the water, that mem source? HALAL HaWah. So, what's this map popping up all about? What all this ice ring situation? Terra Vista. We got last time it just means vision or view, like a view, like land of vision, land of view. I don't know. All this is Terra Vista to them. All this is just Terra Vista. Then they got Terra Fuego. You know what I mean? Somewhere by right here. We're gonna get a clearer joint. It'll get, but right here would be Terra Fuego, right where it should be, South America, right? So what ice wall is called hot. Fuego means hot, heat, right? Hot. Now this one doesn't show in particular gateways, but it looks like it shows an ice shelf and then the continent underneath the ice shelf. You know what I mean? So you see like the lighter white or whiter, you know what I mean? Yeah, the lighter color is like the all around ice shelf, but inside that is like an outline and inside the lighter background, you know what I mean, which shows land masses specifically. But that lightness kind of is the ice that's bridging it all together. But underneath, you have these specific lands. Now, if you take away that lighter part, then you see gateways, don't you? Yeah, man. It's all ice now, right? But without that, it's just openings that you can just slide up out.
And welcome to a new Italian PNC video. Today we will be looking at something completely new that was sent to me by one of my subscribers who was interested in the topic. So what exactly is this? So it gets kind of crazy, okay? Let's start by that. This is a flat earth map, but not any flat earth map. It's a very specific kind of flat earth map. And apparently, but based on basically what I could find online, it was made by the Germans during that one period in history where they were doing a lot of expeditions in the Arctic and the Antarctic. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm of course talking about the Second World War and the period right before it, because a lot of the people in the German High Command were very interested in the concept of esotericism and generally a lot of the things that had to do with Antarctica and the Arctic. So that is why this map is in German, and it has a lot of those references to those time periods where Germany, was kind of doing their own thing. So first, let's just get into the actual map, okay? Because this is kind of wild. First of all, I had to censor some parts of the map, unfortunately. It's these black dots you can see right here, and they will be censored on each part of the map, because unfortunately those were that one symbol that Germany used in that time period, which of course YouTube doesn't want me to show you, and I won't be showing it because otherwise they would block the video, but you know all what I'm referring about. It's that one symbol everybody knows about, the one with the little stanky legs, going in a circle basically, but it's it's that one. I'm not gonna refer it by its own name, but you all know what I'm talking about.
Crazy.
So first of all, what actually is going on in this map? First of all, we can see right here that the Earth, as we know it, is right here. So we have Africa, we have Arabia here, then we have Europe, then we have Asia, and what appears to be South America, North America, and in this case Australia. Then things get a bit quirky. We have a continent here which can't be easily recognized and appears to be something akin to Lemuria or Mu. I've seen the other maps that are in this video and they show it as Mu or Lemuria depending on the map. And then we have more continents in the west of the African coast. And finally, we have what appears to be a layer of ice walls, which kind of disintegrates upon itself and becomes multiple masses, land masses, and gives birth to a lot of theories. So also we can see that the map is actually in German, we can actually see it. Once again, I can't find the actual source of this map. It does not seem to be some sort of modern project. It seems to be an actual thing that was made during that time period, But if it was, that's kind of crazy. And if it isn't, it's still kind of crazy that somebody made this. I really couldn't find many things on this, but I still wanted to take upon this challenge of a subject in a video because, it was asked to me by a subscriber which contacted me on Discord. Remember that if you want me to cover something on a video, you have to contact me on Discord. I won't be replying to comments on YouTube because there's so many of them and I can't read them all, but also simply because it piqued my interest because it was kind of crazy and I've never seen something like this before. So going from this, let's go to the second image, which is somehow this exact map, but it's like made into a mouse pad. It appears to be somebody like you use this to actually like make like a product and sell it. So I don't know what's that about, but it's interesting that mouse pad of this map exists. Once again, these black dots are the parts that I had to censor for that one symbol. But in this map, we can actually see a bit better what is being shown here. We have some names that we can recognize. I don't know if you guys can see them, but I can definitely see an Asgard here, and I can definitely see I can't actually see what this means, but this is definitely Asgard. It's written Asgard. And you might ask yourself, okay, what about Asgard? Well, in every single map of the Beyond the Ice Wall series, of any series honestly, has Asgard in it, because a lot of people believe that Asgard exists outside of the ice walls, and there's multiple theories. Some people believe that Asgard exists in the first layer beyond the ice walls. Some people believe it exists in the second ring, as we've seen in the main map that we've been dividing into episodes in the main series of the channel, which is Beyond the Ice Walls, the second ring map. And of course, there's even people that think more in the like Nos Confunden kind of proposal, which is basically that Asgard exists as a firmament of itself outside of Earth and is connected to it by like a passage, like bird's passage. But I don't really know about that whole thing. I think it might have been more probable for Asgard to exist as shown in the maps we've seen before, but this is definitely an interesting proposal. I'm going to zoom in into something that is not a mousepad now, so you can actually see better. And this is this one image I managed to find. This is the most high-resolution image of this map, and it's only a portion of one single part, which is, I think, this one right here. So we can't really see much of the rest, but we are able to see at least this one in very high detail compared to the ones we are seeing before. I'm noticing also that these have the continent of Africa figured here, so we can actually see some places that we know about, like in Africa, so Angola, Namibia, South Africa, Botswana, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Gambia, and so on and so forth. And even the Atlantic Ocean, probably the Atlantic Ocean, let's be honest. It's German, I don't know German, guys, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's very interesting, and we see also some other things that are very, very interesting. We can see something here called New ShaLaWam land. So for those that don't know what New ShaLaWam land is, by the way, I'm pointing towards this thing right here. Let me just highlight it with a different color so you can see it better, in a better light. This thing right here, New ShaLaWam land, okay? And New ShaLaWam land is basically what the Germans during the, that one period in history, so around World War II, called the territory in Antarctica which they were claiming ownership of. In fact, the Germans traveled all the way to Antarctica, or what many of these maps call the ice walls, and arrived and basically created literally a land claim over a vast territory that I'm not really sure which country claims it now, but even so, there's the the Antarctic Treaty that kind of forbids any country to own land in Antarctica in the historical sense. It just allows them to have like a limited claim and stuff, and like research bases and stuff like that, and then they don't really allow people to visit much. So a lot of people are interested in that. And in this case, New ShaLaWam land was made way before the treaty was signed, so people, or rather countries, were actually claiming land in Antarctica for their own use. And we can see that in this case, New ShaLaWam land is represented as part of this like kind of fractured ice wall that extends outside of the main core of the Earth, or at least what could be interpreted as such. There's also other things here which I'm finding interesting, is the fact that a lot of these seem to be in Spanish, or in other languages are definitely not German, like Terra de Vista is clearly Spanish, or Portuguese. I'm sorry if it's Portuguese and not Spanish, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Spanish. So that's interesting. A lot of these maps that are like very well made tend to be something that comes from the Spanish side of the world, or at least the Spanish-speaking side of the world, so not only Spain, countries in Europe, but also just the Latin American countries and some African countries like Guinea Equatorial. And yeah, I think it's interesting that a lot of these have some Spanish tendencies, especially since the Spanish were some of the first explorers to, cross really what was believed to be the end of the world. With Columbus, of course, it was an expedition that was, funded by the Crown of Spain. And of course, a lot of explorators and navigators were sent to distant lands to find things for Spain. So it makes sense that a lot of these contents are in fact in Spanish, because it either proves that the maps are very ancient and they were made in very old times, or that at least the source of them inspired these new, more recent maps to be made in Spanish, or at least have Spanish elements. Anything else I can see? Okay, let me see. Balkanischer Ocean. I don't know what Balkanischer. Balkanischer sounds like Balkan, but clearly can be Balkan. I am finding something interesting here. We have a UFO, something in German. I don't know what that means, but it is definitely a UFO. That's what they're saying. Also, when again, this is had I have to censor this, but of course we're talking
Oh,
about this little
balls.
landmass right here.